In regards to even outsourcing, let's say to a call center, I mean, you obviously know this space well, and you know it inside out. Like, what are some of the downsides, right? Because someone could say, you know what, I don't have an intake staff, I don't have time to invest in one or train one. I'm just going to outsource this. Like, where does that really start to fall off? Like, why isn't that kind of the end all solution?
Okay, so certainly a solution, right? Having no call center. You know, if you have a voicemail right now, you're making a mistake and you're leaving money on the table. The call center solution is huge, right? You need to make sure that someone picks up the phone. But you asked an honest question, so I'm going to give you an honest answer. What are some of the deficiencies associated with any outsourced call center? I mean, you're talking right now that some of it's remote, right? And when you get remote staff, especially in this post-COVID world, like, I hope I'm not being too confident in saying post-COVID world as opposed to COVID world, but I think, you know, you're going to get, when you have remote staff, you're going to get the bad reception. You're going to get background noise. You're going to get someone who doesn't know your law firm very well. And quite frankly, Michael, it's more like, this is why a call center should not be your front end intake, right? Because you have an intake team who hopefully does not have these problems. It's important that if you're going to outsource to a call center, that at least you understand that the quality is not going to be as strong as your internal intake unit. Again, though, just be aware. Look into it. Dive a little bit deeper. Listen to the recorded calls, right? Maybe the call center you're with, maybe their abandonment rate is too high. Maybe they're not picking up fast enough. Maybe they're having long hold times. Maybe the call lasted 15 minutes and it should have lasted 3 minutes because it's not really a call. Maybe we didn't give the right information. We didn't train the outsourced call center well enough to provide the appropriate responses to questions. And I think what I don't want anyone to do is to blindly say, hey, you people over there, just handle these calls. There's a lot of training that gets involved in that. And I think it's important that you spend a little bit of time preparing. If you're going to have human beings handle phone calls, they have to be prepared. Preparation is huge. They can't improvise it.
And then let's say even internally at a firm, you think about it, whether somebody has one person answering the phones or an intake staff. I mean, somehow, like, you know, oftentimes it seems like these people aren't really set up for success, right? They're not trained. There's not a process. And I think in many cases, they're some of the lowest paid people at the firm, and those are on the front lines. I know you have a lot of thoughts on this.
Yeah, they are oftentimes the lowest paid employees, yet here they are. They're the first responders. They're the ones, they're the cover of your book. They are literally, a claimant is judging your book, your firm, by your intake specialist, by the first person that picks up. And I'll tell you, because it's not all negative. Some intake specialists are brilliant. They're amazing. They could sell you, whether it's, ice to an Eskimo, whatever it is. I remember personally, when my wife and I moved to the area we live in right now, she had an allergy. And I had to find an allergist. And I didn't know any allergists. So I called multiple allergists. And one receptionist picked up and I said, let's call him Dr. Levine. I don't remember his last name. I said, can Dr. Levine help my wife with this? And she paused and she said, oh, Dr. Levine's the best. And the way she said that, it didn't matter. Dr. Levine could be made up. Done. I am going to Dr. Levine. No one else is as good as Dr. Levine. So I think what happens here, just to get back to your point, is it's actually the rest of the firm, quite often, that they don't value intake as much as they should. There's a lot of negativity about all the things they do wrong. For many firms, it's not about rewarding when it should be. A lot of lawyers are awful at intake, and they don't handle responding to intake well. So what you're going to get a lot, Michael, is intake will have questions. Oh, I have this potential client on the phone. It's not a clear case, but there's a serious injury, and it's something that the intake specialist may not be prepared for. And they go reach out to an attorney. And then the attorney says, I'll get back to you. A day, 2 days later, 3 days later, 4 days later. And now the intake specialist is nervous. Do I follow back up with that attorney, with that high-powered, much paid, much better than me, much louder, intimidating individual? Do I follow up, or I just wait it out? And now here we are leaving money on the table because the attorney isn't taking intake or this lead as seriously as the intake specialist is. So there's definitely a a disconnect between the intake team and everybody else in the firm.